The New York Times reports that people who donated to establishment Republican candidates in this primary are more likely to donate to Hillary Clinton rather than Donald Trump. Now, donors, of course, to the candidate, to Hillary Clinton, are basically described as Bush donors, Kasich donors, and Christie donors, as well as the two donors that gave to Lindsey Graham. Kidding, of course, there was more donors than that, but basically establishment Republicans. Now, in a typical election year, donors whose candidates have dropped out of the race end up funneling money to the party standard bearer, the person who actually did win the nomination. However, as we know, this election has been far from typical. Like I've said, we've taken the rule book for this election. We've thrown it out the window. It's gone. Where'd it go? I don't know. It's out the window. So, and as I said, the New York Times looked at major Republican donors who gave to the establishment candidates during the Republican primary. Now, we know the establishment candidates are Jeb Bush, Christie, John Kasich, and Lindsey Graham. Of the donors who gave at least $200 to Jeb Bush, Governor Kasich, Christie, or Senator Lindsey Graham in the primaries, more of them have also contributed to Hillary Clinton than they did Donald Trump, according to FEC filings through June of this year. Now, people who give to multiple candidates are a small percentage of Republican donors. Of the donors to Mr. Bush, who also gave to one of the current nominees, 303, more than 2% of the total gave to Mrs. Clinton. Less than 1% of them gave money to Donald Trump, according to the filings. Now, those crossover donations from Republican donors going to Hillary Clinton have really added up. Hillary Clinton has received $2.2 million from donors to candidates who dropped out of the Republican presidential primary, about $600,000 more than Donald Trump has received from those same or such donors, according to the filings. Now, donors do not always adhere to their candidate's lead. The Times notes, since February when Mr. Christie endorsed Donald Trump and subsequently went out to get a McDonald's all the time and turned into his bitch, which is kind of hilarious. It's like a bigger bully bullying another bully. It's great. It's fantastic. Let's see. 103 of the governor's donors have said, you're going to follow that guy? No. I'm going to give my money to Hillary Clinton. And 49 of them have given to Donald Trump. Now, usually donors to losing candidates in the Republican Party, as I've mentioned before, give more to the Republican nominee, but not in this case. Now, in previous years, donors to Republican candidates who dropped out of the race contributed to the nominee in very high percentages, but this is different. Donors to Mr. Trump's primary opponents are backing him at a historically low rate. Perhaps a reason why. I will offer a reason why. Trump is a flaming dumpster fire that will likely bring any Republicans who decide to go with him down with the ship. He's sinking right now. He's not doing very well. He's doing very tremendously bad, to put it in Trumpian terms. Okay? He's doing tremendously bad. He's losing. He's a loser. And his ship is sinking, and he's bringing down these Republicans. And look, you don't want to be there. You don't want to be with Trump. Now, only 2% of donors on average had made a contribution to Mr. Trump's campaign in July, according to the most recent fundraising figures from the campaigns that they have filed with the FEC. Donors to more moderate Republican establishment candidates gave at the lowest rates. That's because they're giving most of their money to the other establishment candidate, Hillary Clinton. So you could kind of look at this whole thing in two ways. Republican donors are given to Hillary because she's the establishment candidate that is most likely to help them achieve their establishment goals. Okay. Or you could also look at it as Donald Trump is so toxic to the Republican brand that anyone associated with him is basically committing political suicide. Now, I think both of those theories have big elements of truth in them. But the fact is that Hillary Clinton is raising millions of dollars from corporations, rich Republicans, rich liberals, and not very much from everyday people, from you and me. Now, the problem with that, of course, if she wins, is that who do you think that she'll be beholden to? She'll be beholden to them. And look, I don't just ask that about her. I ask that about every politician because, look, the system that we have makes even honest politicians, and I'm not saying that Hillary's honest, right? I'm not saying that she's honest, but it makes people, even getting into politics, if you're an honest person who wants to get into politics at the national level, well, you got to come up with that money somewhere. That's why Jill Stein is having such a hard time raising money, because she can't raise money from those establishment donors, from the big donors, and you have to have money to run a campaign. That's why she's not doing very well at all. She doesn't have that money. That's historically the problem with all the third-party candidates. Even Gary Johnson, who was actually doing pretty well when compared to the history of third parties. He's at around 9-10% in the national polls. That's kind of amazing, right? But my point is that the arbitrary money requirements in order to run for office makes even honest politicians have to sell their souls to be able to go into office. And you'll have to take some of that big money, and of course, what's going to happen when you take big money? It has that corrupting influence, and so you get in there, now you have to owe a whole bunch of people. And then, of course, you have to campaign for re-election and take more corporate money. It's the system that's the problem. It is that system that we need to defeat. Now, Bernie Sanders showed us how to defeat that system and showed other politicians that they don't actually have to take money from corporations. And now that we know that, now that everybody knows that, we need to demand that all of our politicians stop taking that corporate money and demand that they overturn Citizens United, the Buckley-Valeo decision, as well as end corporate personhoods, so we can get back to one person, one vote, so we can eventually have our democracy back. And after all, that's the entire goal. Hey everybody, if you like this video, then please like this video and share. And if you want to see more like this, then please hit that subscribe button below.